I'm so passionate about this topic because, conflict has such a bad rap or bad reputation. And, so often we take a conflict about something and we make it about someone, when we really just need to focus on what is it that we don't quite connect or agree on. And, I always tell people to think about conflict as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to discover, to try something new or to try something different. And you're right. I think so often we want to avoid conflict. We think, oh, well, just, I'll pretend I didn't hear that, or I'll just wait until time passes and then everybody will forget. And the reality is then you're missing an opportunity to have a conversation. And so utilizing strategies like getting curious, right? Asking questions, trying to get to the root of what doesn't feel right to the individuals that might be disagreeing about something, and get to those deeper layers of what might be underneath that.
I love that. Every time I hear and think and learn about open-ended questions, I feel like I remind myself every time what they are. Can you share with us what are some open-ended questions or examples of those that you might use in a hospital?
Yes. So any question that can't be answered with a yes or a no is an open-ended question. And so we think of the, who, what, when, where are great open-ended questions. Starters, we try to avoid anything that begins with why, because why can bring up a lot of defensiveness. You're making me have to explain myself. So, and it doesn't even have to be a question. It can be a statement. Tell me more about that, or say more about what you're thinking. What are your thoughts on that? So many different ways to open up conversation, and ideally sharing it with that genuine curiosity, that genuine desire to hear more, to better understand, versus jumping to conclusions or making assumptions about what the person's reasoning might be.
I love that. I feel like in veterinary school, we talked a lot about open-ended questions with our clients to get all of the information, and there was a lacking for this kind of conflict resolution and using it as a tool with our teams, which is just so important. You had so many things in your discussion today that resonated with me, and another one of those was this idea of generosity. And when I think of generosity, I have kids, so I often think about, be generous, share your cookies. But you just opened up the door to this idea of generosity being assume the most generous interpretation, like assume positive intent, assume the most generous interpretation of the people around you. And I was like, wow, that is the generosity that I want to embrace. Thank you for that. Did I do that justice?
You did.
Sharing?
That was perfect. I have a 5-year-old, so I know all about the trying to get her to share. And yeah, in this context, it's really about opening your heart to the thinking the highest about what someone is bringing to the table that day. So it could be one of your team members who's just acting not like their self, and remembering, this is a good person. This is, this team member cares. I'm going to assume they're just having a bad day, and everybody has bad days, and that's okay. Or I'm going to assume that they might be really struggling with something right now, and I'm going to have a conversation with them about it. And I think in the context of what we discussed earlier around the corporate or leadership team, the company team, support team versus the hospital team, also thinking that generosity towards the support team. They're probably dealing with a lot of stuff on their end too. It might be taking them longer to respond to your email, but they're probably working as hard as they can, right? So coming into these situations and these conversations, really giving people the best, like you said, the best interpretation of what their actions are, rather than making assumptions that they don't care, they're money driven, or they're just suddenly bad people, which we know is not true most of the time.
I love that call out, and what you were saying, I was like, yes, and I should do this with my husband at home every single day to practice doing that. And then my brain tracked to, you know what, I've had the opportunity to work with our support team more recently, I love getting to work with different parts of our organization. Just makes me love my job even more. And I tend to be a really passionate person. I'm really passionate about what I do, and I'm the medical director for our telemedicine program. So I like to know what's going on with technology and innovation. And I so deeply wanted to get to talk with our teams about advances in AI and technology. And I got the response from our organization, like, no, pull the reins in, Kate. We're not ready to talk about that yet. And immediately my brain went to this place of, ugh. I don't even think I need to put words behind that. I was just frustrated. And I practiced my own self-regulation of not reacting, but taking a minute, a few deep breaths to respond, and got curious and asked the question, and then learned that our cybersecurity team is working hard for us to develop some important protocols so that we can keep our patient care information safe, and that actually, like, waiting for that information to be solidified so we can come as a unified team is really important. And it's so easy to catch ourselves even when we know that we should be doing these things. It's just, we're only human at the end of the day, right? Is it okay to make mistakes?
Yes, it's always okay. And I love what you shared about taking that pause and then responding rather than reacting. I think if we can pause, notice what's coming up for us, maybe the ugh or the eye rolls, whatever it is, and then choosing our words carefully after that, not in a way that means to filter, but just to make sure that we are coming into it with that generosity, with that curiosity, and with that real desire to better understand versus defend or deflect.